Is that me?
Then, can you guys hear me okay?
A little bit of an echo, Jared. What's up? Good.
Hey, can somebody put her on mute? Perfect. Morning, Rob.
Mvrk Monday. Let's go.
Mvrk Monday, let's go. All right. Well, hey, we'll go and get started.
8, 10.
Well, it's so great to have all you here on Mvrk Monday. I hope you guys had a great and productive weekend and time with your families or whoever is the most important people in your world. Just, one of the things over the weekend I was thinking about that I wanted to share on Mvrk Monday, that especially as we're newer, we've only been officially launched for a few months, but one of the key aspects of any organization, whether real estate, whether a roofing company, whatever business, a marketing company, when you're running an organization, above all else, the thing that's most important is culture. And one of the things that I was just doing some strategic advising for another company, and I shared a quote with them that I've been using for years. And, and I just said, culture eats strategy for lunch. And he looked at me and he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we can have the absolute best strategy in the world. We can have the best vision. But if we don't have the absolute strongest and best intentional culture, then none of it matters. And it's why a lot of organizations fail in the process of trying to do something great, is because they don't give an adherence to culture. At Mvrk, one thing that we believe above everything else is culture first, growth follows. Because many times we can be so hyper-focused on growth that we miss out on the importance of culture. And really understanding culture defines us. And because when culture's strong, success is enforced. It's inevitable. And we believe at Mvrk that building a great business is about building a great culture, and then transactions follow. And that's the thing that I learned early on in real estate, that if you get so hyper-focused and your only goal is the transaction and making money, you're going to miss the big picture. And you might grow some, but you're going to miss out on your potential, because culture is that ethos. The ethos is what we embody, what we feel. And with Mvrk, it's not just about John as a CEO or one of us. It's about all of us. Culture is the ethos of every single one of you. It's what we carry. It's what we carry into a listing presentation. It's how we express ourselves on a phone call. It's how we reflect the Mvrk way. And again, that takes time. One thing organizationally that most people don't realize, to really create an intentional culture where you see the outworking of it, can actually take usually up to 2 to 3 years. So even though you declare that we're growth first, that we're people first and growth follows, and that we treat people with kindness, we treat people with respect, we celebrate wins, all the aspects of a healthy culture. But the fact is, it can take up to 2, 3 years until you kind of turn around and be like, this is who we become. And that's why it's really intentional. It's imperative that we're intentional about the culture we're creating. That we believe the best, we encourage the best. Again, we celebrate wins. It's how we treat people. At Mvrk, we exist to reinforce this culture as we build this together. And again, culture is not a slogan. It's not even a mission statement. Culture is the shared behaviors, the standards. It's the relationships with how we work. It's how we serve our clients, and it's how we grow our teams. Does that all make sense? Now,
100%.
brokerages can copy commission plans. Brokerages can copy marketing plans. They can copy systems. The one thing that brokerages cannot copy is culture. Culture is our signature. It's our fingerprints. It's what makes us unique. And it's the culture that's going to make us stand out if we do it right. If we're showing up to Mvrk Monday, we come with excitement. We approach our business with excitement. If we approach things with a growth mindset, And again, working hard with the team and with Michelle and putting out a lot of resources, part of that whole thing is wanting to create a culture that's strategic, a culture that where we basically set the roadway for you to succeed. But we cannot force you guys to grow. And so what we do is we encourage you to grow. Just the same way, we cannot force growth saying you must recruit. Instead of, it goes, difference is going from a have to a get to. We get to do these things. We get to have freedom to build something great. We get the opportunity to be at Mvrk. We don't have to be here. This is your business. And the same thing is, you don't have to do real estate. You don't have to do a transaction. If there's a transaction where the client is not treating you like you deserve to be with human dignity and respect, I have fired clients in the past. I had one client who was going to pay cash for a $900,000 home, and I realized that there was disrespect. Everything in me told me that I should not continue. And at the end of the day, did I give up commission? Yes. But the thing I protected was my dignity, my integrity. And in doing so is where you begin to watch your business flourish, is when you make the right decisions to protect your culture. And so my encouragement to you guys is, and again, if you don't know what your ethos is, because again, you have a culture, you might not just know it, because your culture is reflected in how you communicate with people. But the most successful brokerages in the country are not successful because of the splits. They're successful because of that culture. Culture determines how we treat everybody we have an interaction with. When you reach out to Michelle and you're asking for help, how do you treat her? When you're reaching out to another agent, how do you treat them? It's about the common respect. Now, other things I want to talk about where culture is infused in everything we do. It's not this thing that's floating out there, this ethos. Culture trickles down. Culture is embedded in how you communicate yourself, how you market yourself. It's again, for example, let me give an example of this. For example, the buyer's guide. One thing that we've created for you to have is a buyer's guide and a seller's guide. And that's a powerful tool, but that shouldn't just reflect like basic stale information. It should reflect your heart. It should reflect your big why you do what you do. And that why is so much connected to the culture of who you embody, how you treat people. And that's what I believe with Mvrk is that we're going to attract the right people. It's like a lot of times I've seen a lot of brokerages recruit instead of let's become so attractional that people get the opportunity to be with us. And again, we provide the right resources, we provide the right trainings. But again, as each of you really sit back and say, who am I becoming? What is it that I want? And again, leaning into the culture, trusting in the culture, that's going to take us from a place of addition to multiplication. Now, speaking of the buyer guide, if you haven't gone to the drive, I encourage you to go to Google Drive and explore the different resources. And I'm going to talk, on Mvrk Mondays about some of the different resources. But today I kind of want to focus on the buyer's guide, because you have a buyer's guide that has been pre-templated. Literally, Michelle has gone in and she has created even, plug and play with your bio, your picture, but you can still even adapt it. You can customize it even more if you want. Now, buyer's guides are more than just information. It reflects how we serve our clients. Again, culture. And the guide is designed to accomplish three things: to educate buyers about our process, it positions you as a trusted advisor, and it creates confidence before the first showing. So let me give you some examples, and then I want to lean in and ask you guys how you're using it. With the buyer's guide, I always assume that when I'm going up again, reaching out to a client for the first time, or if I'm going to get an opportunity to meet with them, I always assume that I'm not the only one. I always create in the back of my head that there's competition so that I bring my A game. And so that I just don't walk in assuming I get it. You have to present your A game. And the way you bring your A game is you have the right resources ready to go from the get-go. And so, for example, with the buyer guide, let's say that you're on Facebook and you see someone post, I'm moving to Florida. I see it all the time on some of these different pages like New Yorkers moving to Florida, California's moving to Florida. And then what happens is someone will say, I am looking at moving to Orlando. You'll see 60 responses by agents, but you'll see a lot of agents just put in, hey, reach out to me. I can really make a difference. Again, but very little things. What I always do is I will try to bring value in that response, but not only in the post. What I'll do at the end of the post, I'll put, I sent you a DM, and I will go to their messages and I will then send them a message directly, and then I will upload the buyer's guide in that message. So I don't want to upload the buyer's guide in my original post because, again, there's an element of this is secret sauce. This is your secret sauce. You don't want to just have everybody go, why? I'll take that and I'll borrow it. So the thing is, though, when you have an opportunity to connect with a client, say through Facebook or Instagram, and you send it, this is an opportunity to differentiate yourself, set yourself apart from the competition. And when a prospective buyer can go through it, it adds professionalism. It shows that you really thought through the process. And that's where you convey your big why you do what you do, who you are, how you do it. Again, culture. I put people first, not transactions, culture. And all those things should be in your buyer's guide. And if you haven't taken time to do this, then you're holding yourself back from going, say, from a 6 to a 10. Same thing with the seller's guide. If you get an opportunity, someone reaches out today and said, hey, I heard about you. I'd like to meet with you. Don't assume that you're the only one. It's always healthy to have competition because it forces you to step up. And so when you go into a meeting, a buyer's meeting, a listing meeting, what are you taking with you? How are you prepared? One of the things that I always do with my seller's guide prior to a listing meeting, I will let them know, hey, just so you know, before we meet, I'm going to send you an email. It's going to include my seller success plan. It's going to tell you more about me, my background. It's going to show, it has client reviews from Google. So it's not just what I say, it's what others are saying. It's going to walk you through a process. And what I encourage you to do the day that I arrive, put together some questions so that we can discuss those. So I'm setting the context ahead of time to set myself apart rather than walking in cold. Does that make sense? So use these tools to put them out in front of you. And again, we work with buyers and sellers. So those should be the two guides that you're really emphasizing and investing time into right now to brand it to you. And again, if you need someone to look at it, ask Michelle or, ask me, and I can give you some insights. When buyers understand the process, their trust in their agent increases. One of the things that without clarity, there's confusion. And the whole goal is to bring clarity to mitigate frustration or confusion. And so when you can line out the process and never assume somebody has bought or sold a home, so that's why in the buyer and seller's plan, it has the roadmap. Here's what you can expect. I cannot tell you how many times I've had clients will say to me, thank you so much for taking the time to explain to me the process. I did not understand it. And I always tell them, my goal is to educate you because I assume this will not be the last home you're going to sell or the last home you're going to buy. So my goal is to educate you so you can make informed decisions. And so next time around, it will not be you'll just know. It will make sense. And people really appreciate that. And again, one way to do that is getting the buyer's guide and selling guide out in front of them. Things you can do to customize it. Michelle put a photo in. You can add additional photos. In mine, I have like 4 photos. Include personal introduction. Again, you can use ChatGPT on this. You You don't have to be the smartest one in the room. If there's something, go into ChatGPT and says, I have a buyer's guide. I really want to make it impactful to reflect a healthy culture, reflect our brokerage, to reflect my heart for serving people, and create a bio with it's my past experience. And, again, shape the prompts to get the desired results and let them know what you're creating. Add your preferred lender partner. One of the things I have in mind at the very end, I have a QR code where they can then scan to do the mortgage application. The goal is to remove any type of barrier. Think of it like a baton handoff, like a race. Every single time you can have a clean handoff and put it in their hand, you reduce friction. And so the key is, if you're going to send them that, they might be on the very front of their search. And that's where you can say, hey, the great thing about working with me is I have a fantastic team. I have a fantastic team from inspectors, transaction coordinators, a mortgage partner. And one thing I can offer you is turnkey service to provide you a stellar experience and really to make it stress-free. Doesn't that make sense to you? Great. At the end of my buyer's guide, I have a QR code. I encourage you to scan it. We'll get the process started. And that's where you're, again, conveying value to them. The other thing too is just explain your process. This is how I do what I do. I know, like agents, there's a lot of agents will say, I won't even, I want to have an in-person consultation. Put that in there, but explain why. Say, it's imperative to me that, that we have a consultation because I'm a people person type of agent. And I don't want to just jump into the transaction. I want to get to know you and what's most important to you. I really value that. So when can you meet? Tomorrow at 11 a.m. or Wednesday at 2 p.m. And again, creating value proposition in these documents. Again, you send them prior to the consultation. You send them prior to first showings. As I mentioned, with buyer's leads, with Facebook. If you're doing lead sourcing through Zillow or whatever you're doing, let this be a thing to kind of be out in front of you. And then again, say, before we begin looking at homes, I'd like to send you my buyer's guide that walks you through the entire process, just so you know what to expect. Does that make sense? Absolutely. Who's going to say no? Okay. And this is what you call anchoring them, because the more you can place value and get your buyer's guide or your listing guide anchored in their phone or on their computer, you're anchoring them. One of the things that I did is I took my seller success plan and I took a domain and I actually linked it to my Canva presentation. So when I'm doing a text or that, or I'm sending a message through Facebook, I don't even have to send them a PDF, because people can be leery about opening documents. I just have a link that forwards them to my presentation. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, actually, any questions on those documents?
Good stuff, Jared. I don't have a question, but I just dropped my Instagram link. If anybody wants to drop theirs, we can connect there. But I actually put mine in my link tree. So I use something called Beacon. Most of you are probably familiar with Linktree. And so if you click that in my link in bio, Jared, it actually has a book a call with me. And then right next to it, it has the seller's guide.
Yeah.
So just thinking of creative ways that, again, like you said, with the link, right, a URL, it just makes it easy for them, lowers the barrier of entry, and provides a great resource for them, and it helps you to stand out in the market. So that's just one idea if you guys want to look at that. Great
Love
way.
it.
No, and I just
link-
looked at it right now too. It's pretty cool what he did. He put it free. It's free. So I mean, generally, yeah, that'd be something maybe you pay for, but you put it as free service. I like that. It's cool.
I love it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Gabe.
and I appreciate you mentioning that, because I have a link tree, and the one thing about Linktree, you can put links in there. You can do documents. Again, the idea is these are the things that are going to lead out in front of you.
This is the guy.
When you assume you have competition, other people are putting together great resources, especially nowadays with Canva and with AI. So we can no longer just hope that we have the best conversation. We have to brand ourselves really at another level. And again, the great thing, which I really appreciate Michelle, is she took these documents and she shaped them for each and every one of you so that you have them. But then you can take that to the next level. And here's what I encourage you to do. Don't just take what it is and just say, hey, it's good. Have kind of the culture and philosophy that you're ever evolving. Constantly make it better. How can I tweak it? Again, consider like just even 1 degree. How can I adjust what I do just by one degree and just continually evolve to make it better and better? And then when you turn around 1 year from now, you're going to have much better resources. You're going to have much greater confidence, and you're going to have a much deeper pipeline and client base because you've just shifted a little bit with a growth mindset. The last thing, because I want to keep it at 30 minutes, the last thing I really want to open up, and again, this is a culture thing. As we're building, just remember, and you'll hear me say this all the time, where we're at is not where we're going to stay. Where you are at as an agent is not where you have to stay. We want to provide all these resources, these tools, these coaching, so that if you're a newer agent and you're not doing any transactions, with the goal of getting, hey, how do I get to 2 million? Or if you're doing 2 million, how do I get to 5 million? Or if you're doing 5 million, how do I get 10 million? And so much of this is you just having the openness to learn and grow. And that's really the heart of Mvrk. That's our culture. And at the same time, is that I don't believe we have to force something that's going to grow naturally. You think of it this way. I have plants and trees in my backyard. I don't have to go in my backyard every morning and give it a rah-rah session and cheer on the tree that today you're going to grow more. Do we do that? No. The thing is, I had this plant the other night that was sitting out here, and I looked and I left it out in the sunroom and it started to wilt. And I was like, and it's called a prayer lily. And it started to wilt. And I was like, I hadn't seen that before. And I went on AI. I was like, hey, is it dying? What's going on? They're like, no, it gets overheated. But if you water it, it'll pop back within 6 hours. And sure enough, I went and watered it, and it popped back right up. And the realization is, it was sitting right out here, but I wasn't watering it.
Yeah.
And what we got to do is, if we're not watering the things in our life, we begin to wilt. We begin to kind of fall away. And so what are you doing to water the things in your life? Are you watering it with growth, with knowledge, relationally, with people, from the brokerage, people in your world, friends, family, spouses? What are you doing for those who are faith-based spiritually? We have to be watering all aspects of our life, because either you're growing or you're dying, and that's a fact. And had I not watered it, it would have been on the path to death. But at the same time, I didn't have to give it a rah-rah session. I didn't have to tell it, you're going to grow, and we just don't do that. But at the same time, with the brokerage, we have to do the right things. We have to have the right culture. We have to have the right heart behind this. We could claim all day, we need to get to this place, and we need to get to 100 agents, 200 agents. But it's really, we're going to get there when we embody the culture, because it becomes attractive. I've been sharing this with people a long time. You never have to chase after something you can attract in the first place. Become so attractional that you grow. And that's the same thing with your business. When your business and what you do becomes so attractional, the byproduct is growth. If all you're doing is trying to force growth, you're going to become frustrated. Now, you need to have a growth mindset, but you need to have the right perspective. Now, I say that because a lot of brokers, you'll hear the term recruiting. Okay, recruit. What I call it is relational invitation. And there's a distinct difference, because many times recruiting feels mechanical, it feels stale, and it feels like disingenuous. Where relational invitation is literally you taking the time to get in people's world. It's you taking the time to reach out to somebody that might be another agent and say, hey, can we have a coffee? Or, hey, I was just thinking about you. Can I give you a phone call? Now, if all we do is jump into the conversation, you should come to Mvrk. We're number one. People are tired of being sold.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know what the difference is when you call somebody, you never know what they're going through. You don't know if they're struggling in their brokerage. You don't know if they're struggling in their business. You don't know if they're struggling in their marriage. You don't know if they're struggling in their faith. Whatever that looks like, but you taking the time to reach out to somebody and first say, hey, Joe, what's going on in your world? How's things going with you personally? How's things going with you in business? How are you liking your brokerage? Let them talk. And if all you do is simply get into their story, let them talk, you know what's going to happen most of the time is they're going to turn around and feel validated and heard. And they're going to say, hey, Rob, tell me what's going on in your world. Hey, man. And that's where you say, it's so funny you ask. I recently changed brokerages, and I got to tell you, I am loving where I'm at. And here's why. And it's really impacting me professionally, which then impacting me personally. And I'm really in a great place. And I'm loving how I'm being challenged to grow. I'm being given resources, people that have belief. Can you see the difference between me doing that way relational invitation versus, hey, we're number one, you need to come to our brokerage? And the reason I say this, I spent 20 years in the church world, and I was around churches that recruit, bring people. And we disguised it as evangelism, but instead of, people don't want to be sold. They want to be invited. Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
Definitely makes sense.
So here's the deal. At Mvrk, when we focus on relational invitation, not pressure recruiting, and again, relational invitation simply means taking the time to get in somebody else's world, even if it's for 5 minutes or 5 hours. It's getting outside of ourselves and getting into their world and earning the right. And I will tell you, when you do that, people are going to lean in. And they're going to say, Rob, hey, tell me more about Mvrk. Okay. Again, that's the difference is you never have to chase after something you can attract in the first place. And at that point is, hey, what I encourage you to do, let's get together. I can give you some more information. And if this is the right fit for you, I would love to have you on the team. You know, it might not be right for everybody, but I'll tell you, it's been right for me. And what I do know is this is going to grow. And again, this happens through conversations. This can happen at network events. I've been at events where just by sharing with somebody what I'm doing, they're like, hey, can I get your information? Social media engagement. Agents, one thing I know when I led this other team,
Oh, awesome.
How long have you been in the business?
Me? 5
Thanks
years.
for everything.
I think
I
5
can
years.
jump in.
Okay, let's get this over with.
Who wants to jump in? Piggyback off of that. Nah, he's coming back.
hey, sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you,
Yeah,
Jared.
we can hear you
I
now.
forgot to turn off the interruptions and a call came through. One thing that I know with the team that I had built previously was that a lot of agents were reaching out to me because they saw that I was closing deals. And especially in an environment where agents are struggling, they're going to reach out and ask, what are you doing differently? And the more you apply these tools, the more you lean into the culture, the more, again, it becomes infectious. You're going to have people reach out to you.
Thanks for everything.
And then it's just like I said, lead them to water, let them drink and taste that it is good. And again, the goal is not just to recruit agents. The goal is to attract the right agents that align with our values, our culture. And that's how great brokerages are built. So I just want to take about just a couple minutes to see if any of you have questions, feedback, anything.
Nothing right now. But definitely appreciate you. You're amazing this morning.
Thank you. I so
You're welcome.
appreciate that. So here's the thing.
Yes,
You're very
thank you
welcome.
for
So
this.
here's the thing. I want us to finish with this because it's one thing to get knowledge, but knowledge with application fails. So today I talked about culture. Today I talked about the buyer's guides and even the seller's guide. And I also talked about relational invitation. So my challenge to you is what can you do to take your buyer's guide or your seller's guide just up one notch or 1 degree? You know, if you haven't dove in and started utilizing it, dig in, go into the drive, ask Michelle. We're here to help you with that. And then I challenge you to start using it. Because when you have this ready, you're going to find the opportunities are going to present themselves. So the second thing is, I encourage you to send it to potential buyers. The other thing is, with relational invitation, who's one person that perhaps you can reach out to in your network? Might be a friend, might be someone you connected with on Facebook, but just reach out to them. Who's one you could do this week just to check in? Hey, was just thinking about you. You got 15 minutes to call, or just sending them a text and then get the conversation going. Because here's what's going to happen. When you look at what we're building, and I had a meeting with Ryan and John on Friday on the downline, as you start building this out, just by doing things naturally and reaching out to people and just letting this be attractive, you're going to watch people come under your downline. And then suddenly you're going to reap the benefits of that. And you're going to see financially, not just transactions of homes you're selling, but you're going to see suddenly you have 2 people under you, 5 people under you, 10 under you. 2 years down the road, there's no reason you can't have 50, 100, 200 people under you. Simply, if you just take the time, one person at a time, don't overthink it. Just do it one at a time. I call it the power of one. If you just apply the power of one, it'll be amazing to see what can happen. So my encouragement for this week, who is your one? All right? That being said, I hope you guys have a great week. I encourage you to apply the things we talked about. And just remember, you guys are culture carriers, and we love doing this with you. We're grateful, and I wish you all my best, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jared. You're the man.
Good.
Bless
Thank
you
you,
guys.
bro. Appreciate you.
Absolutely appreciate you guys.